So let's get the thing that people are going to hate me the most about out of the way. Yes, as the title suggests, I am a horror movie virgin. I do not watch horror movies because I hate horror movies completely.
You what?
Yes, I know. People are going to hate me for that. I don't care. But here's why. I don't understand the concept of you people that love horror movies feeling excitement and joy from being scared. I hate being scared. I will never comprehend why people like horror movies. Being scared is one of the worst feelings in the world. I don't know why you would want to go and watch a movie that's job is to do that. No, thank you. Those are for the people that like dressing up in Michael Myers masks for Halloween. Now, that being said, I kind of want to get out of my comfort zone and watch more horror movies.
But why? Why would you do that? Why would you do any of that?
So I figured I would start with one of the most iconic horror franchises, Scream. And that being said, I think in the vein of Scream, I can't just review them. No. We have to abide by the rules.
Jesus Christ, you don't know the rules?
Rule number 1, I am going to have to go into spoilers to explain each movie in great depth and detail. That could be really short. I could have a couple words to say. I could have a lot to say. Who knows? You'll have to watch the video to find out. And then, rule number 2, I am going to review each movie in the order that I rank them from best to worst. Because I gotta add a little spice, a little flair to the video so it isn't just generic like every other Scream review in existence.
Why the fuck you lying? Why you always lying?
And last but not least, the third and final rule. If this video is to be successful, I have to, under no circumstances, never, ever, ever Scream, the original. So, best one obviously. Hands down, I'm sure everyone would agree with me on this. You
don't fuck with the original.
And honestly, I get it now. I understand why people haven't been able to say any other Scream past has topped the original. It's just so iconic. All of the characters are extremely likable and have this mainstay in the horror movie genre. Sidney Prescott, the Scream Queen herself, is fantastic in this movie. And the true reason I believe that people do not think the original Scream can top all of the others, or at least this is for me, is that Billy Loomis and Stu Macher cannot be topped as killers. They have this air about them that makes them the perfect killers for Scream. Every other killer in the Scream franchise is imitating them for one reason or another, and although they have their own motives, it just doesn't feel the same, because Billy and Stu, the two of them liked screwing with people. One of my favorite scenes in all of the Scream franchise as a whole is the scene where Billy and Stu are scaring Randy shitless in the movie store. It is an awesome scene, and you really see in that moment that these two like messing with people, and that's how they gained the idea of calling people and screwing with them before they went and killed them, because they felt it would be fun. Like, Billy Loomis as a character, he didn't need to go after Sidney. There was no purpose in him doing that. He got his revenge. He killed Sidney's mother. There was nothing left for her to do. He killed her mother, he got away with it. He didn't need to kill Sidney at all. But somewhere in that messed up mind, he just wanted to kill again, and killing Sidney gave him more of an excuse. But, that being said, that's what makes him so likable. All of the other killers in the Scream franchise have reasons for doing it, but none of them really hit that same level of, okay, you're killing because you are a killer. You're crazy, you enjoy killing people, and I like that about you because it gives you this really fun, psychotic air about everything. And that is truly, it's just so good. But can't speak about the first Scream without talking about my favorite character, Randy. Randy is just the best character in all of Scream. And man, do I miss that guy. But we're not up to that movie yet. So right now, Randy, he lives this movie. He's doing pretty good. I really do love Randy. He's just so much fun, and obviously his scene about the rules became iconic that they had to do a variation of it in every single Scream movie going forward. It's just so fun. I had heard about the whole rules thing with Scream. I didn't know what it was, what it meant. I never looked up the rules. I was just like, okay, there's weird rules in Scream, I guess. Whatever. I'm never going to watch it. I don't like horror movies. But now that I've seen it, that scene is awesome. It's probably my second favorite scene in all of Scream altogether. Like the franchise, but you got that. And I love how this movie really plays off on the tropes of the rules themselves, because Randy's rules, none of them matter, with the exception of the third one being never say, I'll be right back. Because Randy's drunk, yet he survives. Sydney loses her virginity, but she survives. However, the third rule, if you really think about it, works because it talks about the survivors. If a survivor is to make it through a horror movie, they shouldn't say, I'll be right back. But Stu says it, and Stu is one of the killers, and usually you would think, oh, well, the killer has to die in a Scream movie. So him saying he'll be right back gets him killed because he doesn't fit into that same category as everyone else. He is the bad guy. He's supposed to lose at the end, which I really found very funny at the end of the day, because it's just like, oh, you know what? That was clever. I really like what you did there. I appreciate that. I see what you're doing. I had no idea Courtney Cox was in this movie, because I know Courtney Cox from Friends as Monica, but I had no idea that she had her first like big break, at least first big break that now I know of going back in her movie history, was Scream. I didn't know she was in this, and she's fantastic in this movie. I really love the character of Gale Weathers. Something that I didn't really notice until later movies is that Gale and Dewey actually have a connection and a relationship. I kind of thought in this movie that Gale and Dewey were just friends and she was manipulating him to get what she wanted. But then, obviously, as later movies progress, they actually start a burgeoning relationship. And I was like, oh, okay, they actually do love and care about each other. I thought she was just kind of manipulating him to get what she wanted. But no, she cares. Go figure. And speaking of Dewey, I love Dewey. And he is the most disrespected character in all of the Scream franchise. And I will get to that when I talk about the 5th Scream movie. But in this movie, he kind of just gets some nerve damage and is heartbroken by Gale. That sucks, and he deserved better, but at least he's alive. Now this one, I know there are a lot of people out there that do not like this movie. I was literally talking with one of my friends not too long before I started this recording, and he was like, bro, what? You like Scream 4? What is wrong with you? And yes, I love Scream 4. It would beat Scream 1 if, again, it weren't for the killers, because everything else in this movie, I think, surpasses Scream 4, with the exception of Randy, Billy, and Stu. That's it. Those 3 characters are the only thing that I didn't like, that I like more than Scream 4, that keeps it above it in my ranking. But from the beginning up until the end, I enjoyed watching this movie probably more than the first Scream. It's just, man, it's just so good. I don't get why people don't like this movie. Like, granted, I didn't watch it when it came out, so I don't have that same level of mentality as, oh man, we haven't had a Scream movie for over a decade, and then you come back and you see these new characters and this new take and everything. So I don't know how that would have affected me if I had seen it in theaters. I know there are movies that I saw in theaters that mentality, because I saw it when it first came out, weighed down on me, and I was like, oh, I don't like this. But then as time passed, I ended up really liking it. In the reverse aspect, when I saw the Fantastic Four movie that came out in 2014 with Miles Teller, I wanted to love that movie so badly that after I walked out the theater, I was like, no, this movie was good. I don't know what everyone's talking about. The movie's good. And then I had to sit with it for like a couple of days before it just sunk in that the movie wasn't good. And I just accepted it. And I was like, in the reverse aspect, obviously, with Scream, I feel like people went and they didn't like this movie because it wasn't what they wanted, or they felt it shouldn't have come back, or whatever the reason may have been, and they don't like it. But the movie itself is fantastic. I don't understand what people don't like about it. Like, the kills in this movie are so good. Like, one of the best kills in all of Scream is in this movie. When frickin' Ghostface is hiding in the neighbor's closet, and they're just on the phone, he's like,
Because I'm standing in the closet.
Liar.
I never said I was in your closet.
that was just, oh, dude, that was just so cool. And like, she gets destroyed. Like, there's blood everywhere, guts hanging out. Like, it's just brutal. I love it. It's probably my favorite kill in the entirety of the Scream franchise. It is just so good. I love that whole sequence. And it's just so much more impactful on a rewatch knowing that Julia Roberts is one of the ghost faces. So she's there just pretending that she doesn't know anything that's going on, and then one of her friends gets murdered, but I guess, they weren't really that close, now were they? So it's like, man, this is awesome. I love this. This is so good. I don't know why people don't like this movie. What's wrong with you guys? Are you insane? I don't get it. And the returning characters, them coming back, felt very natural. It felt planned because obviously, since Julia was Sydney's cousin, she would have visited her on her way back to Woodsboro. So that's why they were able to plan the killings on when Sid was going to get back into town. So they could terrorize and kill her and push their narrative forward of becoming, social media stars. And I think that works really well because this movie came out in 2011. I know that, being a YouTuber and social media influencer and all that was starting to come up back then, but I don't think it was nearly as concrete as it was nowadays. Like if Scream 4 came out today, it'd be like, yeah, I get it. You're making a commentary on social media. But 11 years back, it wasn't nearly as solidified as it is now. So it's like you guys had this idea and pushed it into this movie, making a commentary on how social media would affect people as time went on. And it's just baffling that they really saw forward about how things would end up and were able to implement it and comment on it back then. I really like that. That's really, really cool. Just bravo, guys. I commend you for having that level of thought process. Speaking of Dewey in this movie, Dewey's finally happy for the first time ever. And I'm like, great. I like this. He's sheriff of Woodsboro. He has his wife Gail. Everything's good for him. Dewey's happy. I am content with Dewey in this movie because nothing bad happens to him. This is like the only Scream movie where Dewey gets to be happy. Like, it's just like the man can't catch a break, if I'm being honest. Dewey just can't catch a break in any of these movies. But this one, he's doing okay. He's happily married. He's a sheriff of his town. Everything's nice and sweet. I'm happy that Dewey got to live a peaceful life. I mean, he kind of gets hit with the frickin', what do they call those things? I'll put the clip on the screen. That thing. So, bedpan. Now I remember. It's a bedpan. I mean, it's too late now. You already saw the clip, but it doesn't matter. But yeah, he gets hit with a bedpan. But honestly, outside of that, he was pretty okay in this movie. He doesn't get hurt too bad. I'm very happy about that because Dewey is a nice guy and he doesn't deserve all the bad things that happened to him. Honestly, what else is there about Scream 4? I don't know. It's just so good, man. Like the commentary, the characters. I actually really liked the characters in this movie, and it surprised me because, again, going into this movie, one of the things that I knew about it is that people don't like Scream 4. I heard that people hated Scream 4 and Scream 3. So seeing Scream 4 and enjoying it as much as I did, being self-aware that people consider it one of the worst Scream movies, which, again, you guys are tripping, it's just really baffling to me that everyone hates it to that degree. And I do believe that the killers in this are the second best in the Scream franchise. I really love their motive and their killings. It's awesome, fantastic. They really do get the whole idea of Ghostface down packed. Although, like I said, none of them are really killers because they enjoy killing. They're killing for a means, so that's why they're a little lower on the ranking, but still fine. Still really loved it. Only thing I will say I probably disliked about the movie is the weird meta opening where it's like the characters are watching a movie where the characters in the movie are watching a movie where the characters in that third movie are also watching a different movie. It was a lot. And I'm just like, all right, you kind of went one too far. Like if it was the characters were watching a movie and those characters, that would have been fine. But they went like 3 layers in. And I'm like, okay, you didn't have to go 3 layers in. It kind of got a little overdone by that point. But outside of that, love Scream 4. Everyone who doesn't love it, you're tripping. I'm sorry. No, I'm not sorry. You're wrong. It's a great movie. Scream 2. Honestly, Scream 2 is really great in the character aspect. I think the cast of Scream 2 is fantastic. I love all of their expressive characters. They're all unique and interesting to latch on to. I love Sid's new boyfriend. I'm terrible at remembering names, so I'm sorry I don't remember what the character's name was, but Sid's new boyfriend was cool. The military dude from Transformers was cool. Billy Loomis's mom was an interesting character, but I'll talk more about the killers in a little bit. I like seeing Gale and Dewey and everyone come back. They were awesome, and I love the commentary at the beginning of the movie of how black people are always killed first in horror movies, but they have more mainstay here. They actually have a longer extended scene. You get to like connect with the characters a bit before they both die, and then one of the main characters in the movie is a black girl. That was pretty funny. I mean, she still ends up dying, which sucks, but it's better that she died because I thought she was the killer as I was watching the movie, if I'm being honest. So I did enjoy that a lot. That was pretty funny. I love the sequence of them having to sneak past Ghostface in the car and how tense. Even now knowing that he's not going to wake up, the scene in itself is still shot really well, and it's very nerve-wracking to wonder if Ghostface is going to wake up, and I really do love that. That was a really well done scene. Fantastic. I think Sydney in this movie is probably some of the best that she is in the entire franchise, just for the sake of the fact that she really does feel like, I can't believe this is happening again, but even though it's happening again now, I'm ready for it this time. I'm willing to fight, as opposed to just how she is in 3 and some of the other movies where it's just like, she goes from, I didn't know any of this was going to happen, to I'm 100% prepared. She's kind of in the middle in Scream 2, and I really do like the fact that she has this nice, even middle ground between I'm a scared victim and I'm prepared to beat someone down. I like that. I think this is like the best Sydney is in probably the entire Scream franchise. And speaking of that, can't talk about Scream movies without talking about the killers. I don't like the killers in this movie, if I'm being honest. Not the killers themselves, I should say. I don't like the motive behind the killers in this movie. It makes sense, but it's really uninteresting. It's just like, Billy Loomis's mom wants revenge because she's crazy. Okay. And then this guy's like, hey, I am gonna be the guy that becomes famous for proving that movies influence people to kill people. And it's like, okay, cool. He kind of fits into what I was talking about with Billy and Stu from Scream, and that he is someone that probably wanted to kill people and was going to use that as his alibi to escape. But since he wasn't the main killer, since him and his partner weren't working together, they weren't unified on that front, it didn't really go anywhere. He's just like, oh yeah, this is what I want to do. And then he gets taken down, and it's like, oh, that's disappointing. Because they want to focus more on the fact that Billy Loomis's mom came back for revenge, which was the least interesting thing that they could have done. I think that guy should have been working with another film student to propagate the whole film influences you on violence thing. I think that would have been really cool, instead of throwing in Billy Loomis's mom who abandoned him and now suddenly wants revenge. It was very, very boring. I didn't particularly care for that storyline. I do think the confrontation at the end is really good, and it's very nerve-wracking, and seeing Sydney let her innocent boyfriend die because she was very untrustworthy given her past with Billy, that was a really good scene. I really do like that. And then, as I was saying, the confrontation between Sid and Billy's mother, great. Mrs. Loomis being crazy and fighting Sid on the Cassiopeia stage, and Sid using the stage against her, was pretty cool. I really liked that a lot. That was a very nice and interesting way to execute that. All in all, Scream 2, it's good. But my main man Randy, bro. They killed off my main man Randy. That hurt. That hurt me, because I knew he was gonna die when everyone split up and he was by himself. I was just like, nah, dog, come on, don't kill Randy. He's the best, bro. But because Randy's the best, you gotta kill him, you know? You can't let the best character live on forever. You gotta raise the stakes, so you had to take him out. But it's just like, please don't kill Randy. He's so cool. I like him. He's such a fun and lovable character. And then, dead. Randy actually caught her really bad, though. Like, he got shanked the hell. Oof. Man, he got shanked up in that van. That was just awful. I really wish Randy didn't die like that. I really wish he could have stuck around like Sid, Gale, and Dewey. But, didn't happen. R.I.P. to the GOAT Randy. I know this one is very mixed on a ton of people. It's got a lot of positives, got a lot of negatives between fans, but I think it was pretty solid. I really did enjoy watching it. I like the motives for the killers at the end of the movie. I just think where the movie falls off the most is with the main cast and how they executed all of their personalities. Like 13 Reasons Why boy, his character doesn't really have one. Like, he's just kind of there to die, and that kind of sucks because I would have preferred him to have a more interesting character for him to die. And then a lot of the other characters, they were just kind of carbon copies of the previous characters from the original screen. Like, you have the twins who are the niece and nephew of Randy, so they act a lot like Randy does. Obviously, they have their little idiosyncrasies that separate them from Randy, but they act a lot like Randy. And it's like, okay, so they're the Randy insert. Then, obviously, Sydney came back, and Gale came back, and Dewey came back. So they're in the story. Then you have Billy Loomis's daughter, who she's supposed to be a red herring for the movie, but they did it really poorly. Like, her seeing visions of Billy was just weird to me because it's not like she was raised by Billy. I just find it strange, especially since she sees Billy in the way he was in the Scream movie. So it's like, why are you having a vision of Billy covered in corn syrup like he was in Scream when you never saw him like that? It just didn't make any sense. It was really bad execution of the red herring trope. It just felt like someone was like, we can get the actor back who played Billy Loomis, and it's like, well, how are we going to execute him in the movie? He's dead. And then it's like, well, what if we have his daughter in the movie and she has hallucinations of him? But, obviously we have to get the nostalgia, so he's got to look the way he did in the original movie. And we're going to use this terrible CGI to de-age him. And it's like, you could have just done it with him not in the movie at that point, because it doesn't really add anything to the story. I never once thought that she was the killer because she was having these hallucinations of Billy. They could have done something with that and actually made her a red herring by having her be alone a lot, having blackouts or something. There could have been something significant there that made it like, okay, maybe she is the killer. Maybe her being the daughter of Billy Loomis has affected her in some way and she's actually doing something. But no, they didn't really do it very well. But outside of that, I think Sam was a fine character and a good addition to the Scream franchise. I think she was fine. Jack Quaid definitely stole the show in this movie, 100%. Like, his reveal as one of the new Ghostface killers was awesome. And one of my friends mentioned this to me, that Jack Quaid, in order to get prepared for his role in Scream, went on Reddit with a secret account to piss off people to see how they reacted. And honestly, it paid off, man. It paid off. You did a great job in this movie, man. It was hilarious. Whew. That's just great. Just knowing that's how he had to get prepared to get in that mind space is just super funny to me. You just imagine that. If you're like, all right, so I got to get ready for a role. We're going to piss off a bunch of people. So I'm going to go on Reddit to practice for the role. That's just hilarious to me. I loved it. And the other killer, Amber, she's whatever. She's really not in the movie much. And it's just kind of like, whatever, I guess. She's just kind of there. I kind of thought she was the killer from Frame 1 when Dewey was like, hey, watch out for the love interest. I took that in a different way than thinking it was Jack Quaid's character. I figured it would be Amber because it felt like she was in love with Tara from how close their friendship was. So I assumed that, she's going to try and romance Tara and she's going to end up being the killer. I was wrong about that, but I was right that she ended up being a killer. My thought process was flawed. Whatever, I still got the answer right, and that is what matters most of the time. So, I think that was really well done, and god damn it, man. Dewey didn't deserve everything that happened to him in this movie. Breaking up with Gale, getting murdered, losing his job as the police sheriff, his best friend dying. Like, dude goes through it in this movie. Like, why? He didn't deserve any of this that happened to him. It's just really sad, because finally in Scream 4, I'm just like, great, Dewey's finally happy, everything worked out for him, this is great. And then in this movie, it's just like, no, he lost everything that he ever cared about, and now Ghostface is back and he gets murdered. And I'm just like, bro, Come on, man. You ain't have to do my boy Dewey like that. He ain't deserve this. Again, R.I.P. to another GOAT. R.I.P. to the main man, Dewey. He up there with Randy, chilling, talking about horror movies and how Ghostface sucks. It really is sad, bro. But yeah, Scream 5 overall, I think it was really good. I think the kills could have been a bit more interesting though, because honestly, the kills just kind of boiled down to like someone chasing someone around a house and then shanking them up. There wasn't really anything extravagant about it, and I didn't like the fact that one of the kills took place in broad daylight. I didn't like that the current sheriff, the former deputy in Scream 4, that she was killed in broad daylight in the middle of a suburban neighborhood filled with a bunch of white people, because you know there's someone in a window watching people, so it's just like, come on, really? Like, she just died and no one did or saw it? Maybe that's just me. Maybe that's just me. But personally, I've lived in a neighborhood with a bunch of white people before, and whenever there was some minor commotion, there would always be someone like, hey man, what's going on? Everything okay? And it's like, yeah, we're good. Thanks. So just the fact that she was just able to get shanked up in broad daylight and no one came out and was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. That was a little bit of a suspension of disbelief. At least for me, that's how I felt about it. Man. I did like the fact that they brought everything back to the original and they ended the movie off in Stu Macher's house. They tried to replicate the...
Don't fuck with the original.
And it just didn't work for me because, like, the...
Never fuck with the daughter of a serial killer.
didn't have the same level of impact that scene did. So, it was whatever. Scream 5 is okay. If you put it on, I definitely sit down, watch it, enjoy it 100%. I'm not saying I didn't enjoy the movie. It's just on my ranking of Screams, it's definitely lower. I think Scream 2 and 5 are like really tied with each other. The only reason I rank Scream 2 higher is because a majority of the cast in Scream 2 I liked, and I'm more biased because Randy is my favorite character and he's in that movie. And then you get to Scream 5 and I liked the killers more, but the cast I didn't really care as much as about. So the two of them kind of like flip on those two aspects. I didn't like the killers in 2, and I didn't care for the cast as much in 5. So they're kind of on the same level because they're both missing an element that I think Scream 1 and Scream 4 had. Scream 3. Really, I don't vehemently hate it like a lot of people do. I do know there are a lot of people that really, truly, viciously hate Scream 3, but I just don't like the last 30 minutes of the movie. Like the last 30 to 40 minutes of the movie is where it completely falls apart. I think up until that point, it's solid. There's some elements in it that I didn't particularly care for, like Sid having hallucinations of her mother. That was a little unnecessary. The acting cast felt very cliche, and it just felt weird to me. Like they were just pumping the movie out because someone was like, hey, make Scream 3 or we'll get someone else to do it. And it's like, all right, I guess I'll try something here. I didn't really plan on making it. That's how it comes off to me. I don't know the circumstances behind the scenes of the movie and its creation, but it really felt like someone's hand was forced to make this movie, and it shows in the final representation of it. Sid was fine. I liked her story. I think it would have been better if she just wasn't in the movie for a lot of it, instead of showing her up in that cabin in the middle of nowhere having hallucinations of her mom. If she just wasn't in the movie for too much of it, and then obviously she gets a call from Ghostface saying that he knows where she is, and then she comes back, that would have been so much better than adding this whole hallucination subplot. Because then the twist that Ronnie, or whatever the heck his name was, ends up being Sid's half brother from when her mom was assaulted in Hollywood, it was just so dumb, man. Like there just wasn't anything that really gripped me as an audience member watching it. It's like, what is this twist? Like there's no interesting motive, and on top of that, Scream 3 is the only Scream movie where there's only one killer. Scream is known for having multiple killers, and it's just the idea of subverting someone's expectations by only having one ghost face in the movie should have been something momentous, you know, but instead it's used in the worst Scream movie with the worst motive and the worst killer. You know, it's not great, guys. It really wasn't great at all. I like the idea that not everyone died in the final scene. Like, everyone who went to the final fight of the movie ended up surviving, because usually the final confrontation, there's a lot of people that end up dying, but it was more like the confrontation before the final confrontation, a lot of people died, because I think the detective, he ends up surviving. If I'm not mistaken, he is Sydney's husband in the future movies, because I think they mention him very briefly, but you don't see him in Scream 5. Obviously, Dewey and Gale survive the movie, and Sid, obviously being the Scream Queen herself, does survive. I think one thing that Scream 3 did really, really well that I loved is how it implemented the fact that killers don't die. One of Randy's rules is that in a trilogy end, the killer is supernatural and you cannot kill them with bullets, you have to blow them up. I like the idea that all the Scream killers are just normal people. So the guy was wearing a bulletproof vest, and most people, when they shoot at someone, they aim for the body because it's an easier target, so they were firing at his body until Sid's like, no, he's wearing a bulletproof vest, you have to aim for the head. I like that a lot, because that implemented that whole aspect of the killer's superhuman, so it made him feel superhuman without actually being superhuman, and I think that was a really good way to subvert the whole supernatural killer trope thing. I like that a lot. But outside of that, this movie didn't really work for me. The actors in it, especially the Gale actress, I liked her a bit, but she did get a little annoying after a bit in the movie. And it's like, you're kind of pushing my boundary of, okay, you're an interesting character too. You're getting really annoying and I want you to die. So, yeah, I think that really about wraps that up. So, that being said, you now know how I feel about all of the Scream movies, from best to worst. Whether you agree with my list or not, let me know down in the comments. I'm curious, how do you rank the Scream movies? How do you feel about the list that I made? How do you feel about this video as a whole? I'm curious. Please let me know. But, yeah, I really did enjoy my watch of all the Scream movies. I don't vehemently hate any of them. You know, I may dislike 3 the most, but I still enjoyed watching every Scream movie, and I wouldn't mind binging all of the Scream movies again. So that would be cool. If this video does well, let me know if there are other horror movies you will want me to check out and make a video on. Oh, that's a big ask. I probably shouldn't have said that, but I'm leaving it in. Yeah, so if there are any other horror movies you want me to check out, let me know. And I'll try not to have a heart attack watching it so I can actually make a video. And last, but most certainly not least, have a wonderful day, and I am the Innocent Villain. Remember, folks, you're innocent until proven villainous, and I'll catch you in the next one.